NFL are ongoing in the United States, and the Eagles and the Chiefs are playing, and in the crowd you find President Donald Trump and of course Jay-Z with his daughters Rumi and Blue Ivy Carter. You'll find Bradley Cooper. You will also find John Hamm, Taylor Swift, among others. That's what's going on right now. So if you're a fan of American football, right now you shouldn't be missing the championships. But also in the halftime, Kendrick Lamar will be singing and entertaining the crowd with artist Caesar. So it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful morning right over there in the United States. But back here on Friday, we did have the National Unity Platform Party holding a debate for its contenders of the Kawempe North member of Parliament seat, and we saw what happened there. Some people are applauding the party, that this was a step in the right direction, and others are saying that the debate did showcase the half-baked members of Parliament that we send as Ugandans, that we send to represent us in the House. What's your view? I saw some people accusing each other, others attacking each other, but then the members of Parliament did have manifestos that actually represented the agenda of the National Unity Platform Party. What were your views regarding that debate? I'm curious to know what Jerome Paul and Chirabo think about the same. Well, I'm here with Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio A, and Robert Chirabo, as always, will be joining us from Studio B. Good morning, Jerome.
Good morning, Olive, and good morning to our dear viewer. I wasn't impressed at all with whatever I saw on Friday, but it's a good starting point from the side of democracy. Why I wasn't impressed? Because when I was following some bits of the debate and the discussions, it just threw me back to memories of, school debates or something like that. There were some contestants or some aspirants who wanted or who are vying for the card to go in as party representatives. But the kind of debate, let's face it, was a bit lacking from the side of some presenters or those who are making presentations. And why I'm saying this is because in Parliament we expect you to be representing not only the views of your constituents, but also to represent the views of many Ugandans, because at times we expect to have a debate that comes up. And to our dear viewer this morning, this is not even about detonation, but it's about the choice of words that many of these people were using. And one of my biggest concerns then was, I think we really need to have political schools in the country that help us to pretty much prepare our future leaders, and civic education, so to say. Because when you look at some of them, you could easily know that one is either half-baked, and there was also an argument where someone was saying, if you do not, it's not about knowing English or anything. And my point here is not even about how someone expresses themselves in the English language, but which kind of words are you using
to express yourself.
To express yourself. I even saw someone, I saw a picture trending yesterday where amongst those vying for the sport was seen at the late Muhammad Sejirinya's burial ground. And they were praying. I was following and I was saying, wow, this politics is a little bit funny. Yeah, a little bit of that. And he was there praying for the dead, or praying for the fallen member of parliament in Sejirinya. And many people criticized him openly because regardless of how much you want to get into that space, there are certain things you shouldn't do in respect of the dead person or in the respect of the dead. But then also, over the weekend, Olive, I did follow up on a story that I saw somewhere where a 17-year-old is taking care of 10 of her siblings. And the reason she was giving is that the parents left them alone because of domestic violence. They were always fighting. So meaning she's there taking care of her young siblings, and it's not the best way to start there, if you're to ask me.
So the mother left. Where is the father?
The mother and the father both left.
They both left. Yeah. That's child neglect. Actually, it is child abuse, if you ask me, because 17, she's a minor. For how long has she taken care of her siblings alone?
Quite a long time. I wasn't able to notice so many when it comes to the duration. But when she was sharing her ordeal, she did say that the reason behind why the parents broke out is every other night they were fighting. Every other night they were beating each other. And at the end of it all, they both decided to part ways. And my concern was, why would both parents decide to leave their children behind? Because that is a little bit worrying in any situation.
Well, Jeremy, I have a theory. I don't know the facts of the matter, but let's assume the mom left first. The father realized he couldn't handle all these children on his own, so he decided to also jump ship, thinking that that's what happened. But it's really sad. A 17-year-old shouldn't be taking care of minors, also because now their future is taken away from them. I think they're now not going to school, right? That's rather sad. Anyway, Trevor Robert, good morning. Welcome to the show this morning.
It is a lovely day. I can say this is the day that the Lord has made. Happy New Week, wherever you are. Don't forget, this is the week that is getting us to the day of love. So as you start your week, better know, better plan, whatever your plans are. If it is to have your phones off, set the pace now. If it is to hide, if it's to go for a men's conference, whatever it is, or if it's to gift someone meaningfully, so this is the time for you to begin laying your strategies very carefully and tactical, I must say. Now, regarding the National Unity Platform candidates debate, I must say it's very sad, and sad indeed, that we have not taken politics that very serious. I was looking at some of the candidates who just chose to be dramatic. And also, the quality of the debate, I must say, is what I found a bit disturbing. And of course, this issue that whoever has a level now can come into this, then again we shall scrutinize. I must say, yes, there were some candidates that came and, because it was live on a certain social media platform, and you would say yes. But then there are those Sedeko's box. I want to mention certain, but you'd find that, but this person know the magnitude of what he wants to come into. You have over 450 members of parliament, where each is going to do their best to attract the attention of the speaker, where you're given limited time, but to make sense of those minutes. And here you are, it is not about English. Here you are, it's not about this.
But Chirawo, even Joram, when we say it's not about English, I think we are being a bit more welcoming, because let's face it, English is the national official language, right? And when you go to parliament, it's the language that is used to represent your constituency. You don't have to sound like you're an English person. You don't even have to have a beautiful accent, but you should at least be in position to communicate effectively. Is that too much to ask for, Robert?
I would say the documents you're going to debate, because members of parliament belong to committees, the ability for you to understand them. Even on the floor, I've seen a number of members of parliament, I want to mention names or incidents, but who come on the floor, you see them, they are timid, they are shaky, they fail to say anything because of language barrier.
Yes.
So language is very important. The documents, when you're discussing laws, what is your ability to read and understand, interpret,
and comprehend,
and make meaningful deliberations?
That's right.
You know, not just to say, I rose my hand because my party. No, 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 no. Then finally, over the weekend also, the Chitezi issue. Now, we saw fire that was coming out of the garbage. But I think government must prioritize this and move very fast. We must expedite the process of decommissioning Chitezi, because the people that left that place who are in the buffer zone, many have now returned. They were given 2 million for rent. Now, some used that 2 million long time ago, moving in and all that. They have nothing. Others have chosen to come back. Now, it's not the landfill collapsing, but even the ethanol, the ED was explaining why that fire gutted this place. So government should expertise. We must make this a priority. Let's decommission that site. Let the people who are staying around there that were given that money, now some are demanding for compensation. Others are told government is going to construct houses for you, ranging from 73 million to 93 million. You'll be sleeping in these houses, but let as you make some payments, after completing this amount of money, these houses are going to become yours. Some have already opposed that. So we need to find a solution. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to have what happened in August last year.
Well, thank you, Robert. And with that, please share with us what's in the local news today.
In our local stories, we'll begin with the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Robina Nabanja, who emphasized that government will address the discrepancy affecting the fishermen operating on Lake Victoria. This follows the recent incident in Nakirimira, Mayuge district, where 2 fishermen died after a boat capsized as they attempted to flee from the Fisheries Protection Unit enforcement team. Recently, the Fisheries Protection Unit carried out an operation in Nakirimira, Mayuge district to curb illegal fishing. During the operation, fishermen were arrested. The sector commander of Jinja and Mayuge, Stephen Taremera, said one of the victims attempted to push one of the enforcement members into water, which caused the boat to capsize. Since the incident, there has been misinformation on the number of people who died during the operation. UBC visited some of the families where the deceased were buried last week in Nakirimira village in Mayuge district. The widow of a 24-year-old Osman Mitiya Alawo Margaret has one daughter of 3 years and she is expecting. The second site was the family of a 28-year-old who left a widow, Mwanduma Nagai, and 5 children, with the oldest being 8 years. Residents said the operation on Lake Victoria have rendered many fishermen unemployed. The death of these fishermen, who were said to have been engaged in illegal fishing, however, became contentious. The Prime Minister Robina Nabanja said government will address the challenges of the fishermen.
Professor Enos Chiremiri wants government to utilize the knowledge in some of the publications by the country's professors to solve Uganda's challenges. Now, Professor Enos Chiremiri, a member of the National Planning Authority, has written over 200 books, some of which he says can contribute greatly to Uganda's development. A book secured an opportunity in Canada where he embarked on his PhD journey. And in 1977, he could not return to Uganda due to the insecurity. He then sought opportunities in countries like Zambia and the University of Namibia before he returned after 47 years. Now, this professor of chemistry was received by his country, Uganda, and was incorporated as one of the authority members of the National Planning Authority. Professor Enos Chiremiri, a member at the National Planning Authority, has written over 200 books, some of which he says can contribute to our growth. One of his publications, titled The Double Capping Theory, has sold 10 million copies internationally since 2018. Publishers like Professor Enos Chiremiri play a pivotal role in the dissemination of knowledge and information through the production and distribution of educational materials and research findings.
Moving on, Kawempe North by-election has caused mixed reactions and on the political direction following the emerging competition for the seat. It follows the Electoral Commission declaration of Kawempe North seat vacant following the death of Mohamed Segirinya. Several candidates have entered the race. The former Kawempe North Member of Parliament, Mohamed Segirinya, was known for his continuous and continued voice of the people. Segirinya's death seems to have left a vacuum. Following Article 83 of the Constitution, the Electoral Commission opened the process to fill the vacant Kawempe North seat. Major political parties are contesting the by-election. FDC has nominated Muchibi Sadat, also known as Khalifa Aganaga. The NRM has presented Hajat Farida Nambi. National Unity Platform has presented 10 candidates who are now undergoing vetting. This week, the candidates presented their manifestos. Last week, the candidates presented their manifestos to a debate that also ended by the party president Robert Kyagulanyi declaring when they'll have their flag bearer. This was a process of identifying a leader who knows the values of the party. Some candidates exhibited great manifestos that match the party's development agenda. Masi Warukembe, the NUP electoral chairperson, said the exercise was transparent. Residents of Kawempe North applaud the party's competency and accountability.
And then lastly, the Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Judith Nabakova, has acknowledged that Uganda has a housing deficit of 2.4 million. And during the Habitat for Humanity campaign, Nabakova said that the ministry is working with Habitat for Humanity to provide adequate housing for all. Habitat for Humanity is calling upon the government to constitute a housing fund to cater for the most vulnerable in the community, and the call was made during the Home Equals Campaign Award ceremony, which was organized by Habitat for Humanity to empower and elevate communities with better housing. The Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakova, noted that through strong collaboration with partners, the housing deficit gap will be bridged. Housing experts noted that with fresh talent, innovation and climate-smart housing solutions will address challenges affordable housing in informal settlements. Over the past 2 years, Home Equals campaign recognized several achievers towards promoting better and affordable housing.
And moving on, Israeli troops have withdrawn from the Netzarim corridor, a military zone cutting off the north of the Gaza Strip from the south. Hundreds of Palestinians in cars and on carts laden with mattresses and other goods began returning to northern Gaza following the pullout, often to scenes of utter destruction. The Israeli withdrawal is in line with the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement of 19th January, under which 16 Israeli hostages and 566 Palestinian prisoners have so far been freed. By the end of the first stage of the ceasefire, in 3 weeks' time, 33 hostages and 1,900 prisoners are expected to have been freed. Israel says 8 of the 33 are dead. Hamas seized 251 hostages and killed about 1,200 people when it attacked Israel on 7th October 2023, triggering the Gaza war. At least 48,189 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's offensive, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. About 2/3 of Gaza's buildings have been damaged or destroyed by Israel's attacks, the UN says. On Sunday, crowds of Palestinians were seen traversing the Netzarim corridor, mostly moving north to see what had happened to their abandoned homes. In more news, President Donald Trump has said he will announce a 25% import tax on steel and aluminium entering the United States, a move that will have the biggest impact on Canada. Trump also said that there would be an announcement later in the week about reciprocal tariffs on all countries that tax imports from the United States, but he did not specify which nations would be targeted or if there would be any exemptions. If they charge us, we charge them, Trump said. He told reporters of his plans while traveling from his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida on the Super Bowl to the Super Bowl in New Orleans on Sunday. Canada and Mexico are two of the U.S.'s biggest steel trading partners, and Canada is the biggest supplier of aluminium made in the United States. During his first term, Trump put tariffs of 25% on steel imports and 10% on aluminium imports from Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. But the United States reached a deal a year later with Canada and Mexico to end those tariffs, although the European Union import taxes remained in place until 2021. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump said on Monday he would announce tariffs on everybody for steel and aluminium. Any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff, he said. And lastly, the first president of independent Namibia, Sam Nujoma, has died at the age of 95 in the capital, Windhoek, the country's current leader has announced. Nujoma led the long fight for independence from South Africa in 1990 after helping found Namibia's liberation movement known as the Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, in the 1960s. After independence, Nujoma became president in 1990 and led the country until 2005. Nujoma had been hospitalized over the past 3 weeks with an illness from which he could not recover. Namibian President Nangolo Mbumba said in a statement announcing the death with utmost sorrow and sadness. He inspired us to rise to our feet and to become masters of this vast land of our ancestors, President Mbumba said. He added, and I quote, "Our founding father lived a long and consequential life during which he exceptionally served the people of his beloved country," end quote. King Charles III said he and Queen Camilla had been profoundly saddened to learn of Nujoma's death. In a statement released by Buckingham Palace, the king paid tribute to Nujoma's lifelong commitment to freedom and democracy and immense contribution to history. Nujoma retired as head of state in 2005, but continued to lead the party before stepping down in 2007 as president of the ruling SWAPO party after 47 years at the helm. And that does it for the news, but let's have a look at the press.
Just a few days ago, CNN's Larry Madowo had a similar report on the impact of USA freezing US aid. Now today, the New Vision writes something quite similar, with the government set to close all HIV clinics. And also, you can see over 3,000 caregivers rendered jobless according to this new move. Why is that so? Then charity Lions Boss spearheads humanitarian efforts. That report is also with the New Vision. Now in the judiciary, the Chief Justice blasts Semakade over remarks. Find out more about what happened during that bit of opening the new lawyer on Friday. Then EAC leaders call for ceasefire in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At the front page of the New Vision, you will see presidents of countries, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, inclusive of which that of Zambia, Zimbabwe, and of course and Somalia, as they had the Southern African Development Community as well during the extraordinary joint regional summit at the State House in Dar es Salaam on Saturday. Now, finance officials interdicted over the Bank of Uganda haste. More details with today's New Vision. Then the Daily Monitor, NRM members of parliament refused to take no for an answer. The ruling National Resistance Movement Party parliamentary caucus has been drafted to kickstart amendments to the Constitution and the UPDF Act 2005 to give legal force to military courts to try civilians again. Find that report in the Daily Monitor. Now, His Highness the Aga Khan laid to rest. As you can see at the front page, the casket of the Aga Khan IV carried into the mausoleum of his grandfather, the Aga Khan III, where he was entered in Aswan, Egypt yesterday. Now, also 17-year-old girl's protest against single school ends in death. And then here is what to do to increase cancer survival rates, according to an expert. Now, CJ Dolo says, why I shut up the Law Society President Semakade. Find more details there. In the Healthy Living, my experience as a caregiver at Mulago Hospital. The Daily Monitor gives you details of that. Now, NGOs and churches exempted from financial reporting. That report is with the Daily Monitor. Now, elsewhere, we head to Kenya. The Daily Nation, Kwaheri is the headline. His Highness the Aga Khan IV, a lifetime of service, 1936 to 2025. There is a special coverage of his burial on 5 pages in today's Daily Nation. And then also looking at it from the other side of Tanzania, the Citizen. Cable car plan draws foreign local interest. At least 5 French and Egyptian firms and several investors have expressed interest in investing in Tanzania's envisaged cable transport system. Now, the women driving MSL to new heights, the rising woman perspective in today's Citizen. Also, how Tanzania helped Namibia's Nujoma during independence struggle. Then in matters agreement, CRDB Bank to manage 10% municipal loan funds. Then His Highness Prince Karim Aga Khan IV laid to rest in Egypt. And also more question, what's next after resolutions on DRC conflict? And then we sum up our press review this morning with the Gazette and looking at it from the side of what are the provisions that you can find in today's or in this week's copy. The Uganda Gazette highlights the Commissioner of Oath Advocates Act. The notices are in. The Marriage Act notices, the Mining and Minerals Act notices, the Policy Direction notices, the Education Pre-Primary, Primary and Post-Primary Act notices, the Electoral Commission Act notices, the Advocates Act notices also attached, the Insolvency Act notice, the Local Government Rating Act notice, the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Regulation notices. There is also the Police Control of Private Security Organizations Regulations notices, the Expropriated Properties Act notice, the Trademarks Act Certificate of Registrations, and the Trademarks Act Registrations of Applications and statutory instruments are also attached to the Gazette. And then you can also find more details about Naiga Elizabeth, an advocate of the High Court who has been appointed by the Commissioner for Oaths. Not only her, but then there is also Buiza Doreen, an advocate of the High Court who has also been appointed a Commissioner for Oath under the above mentioned act, which is the Commissioners for Oath Advocates Act, and signed by Alfonso Chigamoy Owinyidolo, the Chief Justice. And then also Muzafaru Abubakar, also an advocate of the High Court, has been appointed to the Commissioner for Oath under the Commissioner for Oath Advocates Act Commission, still signed and sealed by Alfonso Chigamoy Owinyidoro, who is the Chief Justice of the country. And that does it for our press review this Monday.
Now, we leave you with the inspiration song of the day from Lakewood Music. This is the day. Enjoy. We'll be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda, your go-to morning show that kickstarts your day with all the necessary important updates. What is happening in the news? We have it here on Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Welcome aboard. It's a fresh new week. The month of February is moving along. And of course, this weekend we will have the lovers celebrating love on Valentine's Day, which will be on the 14th of February 2025. But before we get there, what's been happening in the news and what's going on right about now? Now, what's going on right now in the United States, the Super Bowl, which is the championships of the NFL are ongoing in the United States, and the Eagles and the Chiefs are playing. And in the crowd, you find President Donald Trump and, of course, Jay-Z with his daughters, Rumi and Blue Ivy Carter. You'll find Bradley Cooper. You will also find John Hamm, Taylor Swift, among others. That's what's going on right now. So if you're a fan of American football, right now you shouldn't be missing the championships. But also in the halftime, Kendrick Lamar will be singing and entertaining the crowd with artist Caesar. So it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful morning right over there in the United States. But back here on Friday, we did have the National Unity Platform Party holding a debate for its contenders of the Kawempe North member of Parliament seat, and we saw what happened there. Some people are applauding the party that this was a step in the right direction, and others are saying that the debate did showcase the half-baked members of parliament that we send as Ugandans, that we send to represent us in the House. What's your view? I saw some people accusing each other, others attacking each other, but then the members of parliament did have manifestos that actually represented the agenda of the National Unity Platform Party. What were your views regarding that debate? I'm curious to know what Jerome Paul and Chirabo think about the same. Well, I'm here with Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio A, and Robert Chirabo, as always, will be joining us from Studio B. Good morning, Jerome.
Good morning, Olive, and good morning to our dear
viewer. I wasn't impressed at all with whatever I saw on Friday, but it's a good starting point from the side of democracy. Why I wasn't impressed? Because when I was following some bits of the debate and the discussions, it just threw me back to memories of school debates or something like that. There were some contestants or some aspirants who wanted or who are vying for the card to go in as party representatives. But the kind of debate, let's face it, was a bit lacking from the side of some presenters or those who are making presentations. And why I'm saying this is because in Parliament, we expect you to be representing not only the views of your constituents, but also to represent the views of many Ugandans, because at times we expect to have a debate that comes up. And to our dear viewer this morning, this is not even about detonation, but it's about the choice of words that many of these people were using. And one of my biggest concerns then was, I think we really need to have political schools in the country that help us to pretty much prepare our future leaders, and civic education, so to say, because when you look at some of them, you could easily know that one is either half-baked, and there was also an argument where someone was saying, if you do not, it's not
about knowing English or anything. And my point here is not even about how someone expresses themselves in the English language, but which kind of words are you using
to express yourself.
To express yourself. I even saw someone, I saw a picture trending yesterday where amongst those vying for the sport was seen at the late Muhammad Sejirinya's burial ground. And they were praying. I was following and I was saying, wow, this politics is a little bit funny. Yeah, a little bit of that. And he was there praying for the dead, of praying for the fallen member of parliament in Sejirinya. And many people criticized him openly because regardless of how much you want to get into that space, there are certain things you shouldn't do in respect of the dead person or in the respect of the dead. But then also, over the weekend, Olive, I did follow up on a story that I saw somewhere where a 17-year-old is taking care of 10 of her siblings. And the reason she was giving is that the parents left them alone because of domestic violence. They were always fighting. So meaning she's there taking care of her young siblings. And it's
New at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us. Robert Chirabo will be joining us from Studio B. Now, over the years, government has joined different development partners to ensure that we bring to an end female genital mutilation in different parts of the country, especially in parts of eastern Uganda where the culture is most existent. But despite these efforts to eradicate female genital mutilation, reports indicate that the vice continues to escalate in the Sebei sub-region. And according to reports, it shows that over 280 cases of female genital mutilation in the last circumcision season of December were carried out. The district community development officer of Kapchora district has lashed out at the police for not responding in time to arrest the culprits that are still behind female genital mutilation. Many human rights activists and women have also said that this is a vice that needs to be back in the ages, that we should not today be forcing women to go through these circumcision or initiation ceremonies, because there is a very big impact, negative impact on the lives of the girls that are taken through this genital mutilation. Today we look at this and why this culture continues despite the efforts that have been carried out. Over the years, we've had so many efforts. We've had talks, sensitization drives, but why is it that this vice remains in the Sebei sub-region? You can join the conversation through WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. You can also send a direct message or SMS on the same number. We'll be able to share your views with other viewers of Good Morning Uganda. Now, coming back here to my colleagues, I'll go to Studio B first, where Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono is. Robert, could you paint a picture for us of the current status of female genital mutilation in the Sebei sub-region, and why, in your own opinion, do you think that the vice persists?
Well, thank you very much, Monica. First, when someone viewing us listens to us talk about female genital mutilation, one will wonder, how did this happen? About 5 years or 6, I traveled with an organization called Center for Domestic Violence Prevention, I think, and Control. Some years have passed. Now, we went to this region, and I tried to find out, actually, why do we have this now? Men were telling me that previously people from this land were warriors. They used to go and fight. But when they would return, they would find that their women are pregnant, yet they have not been there. Or they would hear stories of their women not being faithful. Now, what they decided by then, why, much as this was a human rights violation, maybe it took sense, that they decided that to stop our women from being unfaithful, let's remove that particular part that causes the excitement, or, you know, we're on air, I can't go into details, but people can understand what I'm trying to say. So that's how they developed this inhuman way of treating women, because they knew that now the lady would have no feelings, and you would go and find her there, and she, much as it had health complications, and some would die. Now, in this day and age, they are no longer warriors. In this day and age, we've seen the dangers, there's science that causes. Now, one man told me, why are you against our culture, yet the culture of people that circumcise men, you celebrate, and sometimes they even invite His Excellency to be the chief celebrant as they open up the embalm. This is all about culture to them. But the culture had a background that was important. Today, I don't know men who go for war and spend years. Not even those in the armed forces have the same issue. So I find this very useless at such a time. And indeed, I'm happy that we have a law that bans it now. Why is it prevailing?
Who are the main perpetrators, if you could say?
Anything to do with culture, there are two issues that matter here. One, The elderly women, because when you look at female genital mutilation, it's not carried out by men. It is very funny. They have women on the village, expert women. And when I saw those that have been arrested, this is going to shock you, but many of them were 60 and above. The people conducting it. Now, these women believe that the girls in this region today, why we are seeing so much single mothers, why we are seeing so much broken marriages, why we are seeing all these and they're no longer getting dowry or bride price because the girls are not of that value in their minds as it was previously, that these girls, of course, undergoing that was a torture itself, the side effects it would bring. So they would think that this is preserving. So that element of culture, people rooted in culture, the elderly women who still feel I went through it, you have to go through it, it prevented me from this, I was faithful to my husband, yet you lacked feelings. And I wonder even these men. Now, how do you think that is the best woman for you to have in a home? It is also mentally and whatever angle not adding up. So, second, this is no longer, you know, female genital mutilation is not being carried out in open places like Embaru for the Bagisu. It is carried out in hidden places. They hide these girls. There was a time when these girls had to cross over to Kenya. They go, it's done there. You see this old woman crossing with a young girl, you think maybe her grandmother is taking her daughter. She carries out that, the girl heals, then they come back to Uganda. Because they still have that funny, you know, the hardest thing to deal with in the minds of people, culture and religion.
Well, thank you, Robert. Now, Jerome, culture is important. And as a people, what makes us unique is our culture and norms. However, some of our cultures are dangerous, for lack of a better word. When I look at female genital mutilation, and here you could even talk about the male genital mutilation, the forced circumcision, because circumcision done right is okay, but today there is argument, discourse that even for men it should be because they want to, not because culture says you should be circumcised. But going back to the girls, yes, culture and norms very important. So in this day and age, when we know the dire consequences of female genital mutilation, because we know it is not done the right way, it shouldn't even be done in the first place. How do we balance culture and also ensure that our girls are safe?
See, when you look at the Sabini culture, the cases here that are being discussed or that have brought us to this conversation show that 280 are the girls that were involved in the last bit of the circumcision, according to the report. Just
in December.
That is in December, meaning it is persistent, and it's and it's not like it's going to end any time unless the cultural leaders are in sync with the modern times. Now, the unfortunate bit is that however much we want to strike a balance between the two of trying to, you know, pick out the better cultural practices and, you know, eliminate those that have seemed to live for the longevity, or those that have ceased to be important. It has to take a very huge effort from the many people who have got the chance to get formal education. Because when you look at the reasons behind the struggles to combat female genital mutilation today, many of them have been because of the rigidity of many of those that live within, let's say, the Sebei sub-region, or those that subscribe to the Sabini culture. Many of them feel there is no way they are folding, there is no way they are not going to uphold their cultural norms and practices, regardless of whatever modern rules are available. And this makes it very difficult, because when you look at this report, the community development officer came out and reported to police, and the concern was,
why are we having these cases ongoing even when the police has a know about it and there is no way the police is going to stop it? Now, on the side of the police is also overpowered by the number of cultural leaders who still believe in the same. And Olive, the most surprising bit is that it's not like we do not have representatives who come from
Sebei sub-region. We do.
We do. And we also have those who represent, you know, young women and girls in parliament. But you've got to look at them and ask, what are we doing? What are the efforts, you know, towards putting an end to this? And you will see the efforts will be, it will always be a blame game. We are doing this. We are trying to educate the communities. You see, at this level, it is not even enough to educate these communities on the dangers of it, because now many of them are pretty much focused on what their cultures have to say, regardless of whether you tell them that, hey, we are in modern times and the kind of things you're doing are no longer viable in the modern world. Many of them will still tell you, no, this is our culture, this is what we're supposed to do. And when you also look at the other struggles of combating FGM, these communities, Olive, tend to also, you know, to treat the young girls and young women differently. If I told you I survive of FGM, they tend to kind of isolate you from their community. And many of the young,
survivor,
you know,
in what sense? If you didn't go through FGM,
if you did go,
because
you're
for
now
them
a survivor.
it's a rite of passage into womanhood.
Yes. So as a survivor, either you escaped and ran away from home. You've seen with, for example, the Bagisu, they will look for you.
The men.
Yes. They will look for you, whether you're in Kampala, whether you're in Gulu. The knife will finally locate you. So you can easily see that kind of, you know, that kind of culture upbringing and how we have to respect the cultures. Now, when these young women and girls grow up through these communities and realize that there is also that element of being eliminated completely from the cultures. Now, many of them are a bit scared because, Olive, let's face it, if I told your family people disown you, or if I told your relatives and your, you know, your entire bloodline disowns you, at times you're doomed, because you also have no one to run to. And when these young girls realize this is the case, they have no reason to say no to whatever is going to happen, whether they like it or not, because they want to belong to the community, they want to be recognized as women in their society. They will definitely have to accept it, whether they've actually gone through school. Because some of the people who even share testimonies about almost surviving before they are taken in again for the mutilation will tell you that in most cases, even when you're done with education, unless there is someone in the community who is against it, which the majority aren't.
Jerome, what is the theory behind female genital mutilation? Away from it being a rite of passage into womanhood in the from the culture, that side, what is the other theory? What are they trying to achieve? Because there has been argument that even here in Uganda we have our own form of female genital mutilation, in as much as it doesn't include using the usage of, you know, sharp objects or knives or whatever, but it's been argued that that also is a female genital mutilation. But now going back in Uganda, ideally you will hear things like it is for pleasure of the husband when the girl gets married at some point. So what is the theory of FGM in Sebei sub-region and the regions that carry it out?
One is to prepare the young girls for womanhood and marriage. I don't know which kind of womanhood they're preparing them for, but it's to prepare them for womanhood and marriage. And then there is also one to do with preserving the cultural practices. That this has been an act that has happened over and over again. And that's why you can see that even when the government has been intentional with putting an end to the same and trying to arrest or even arrest some individuals who are practicing it openly, many have resorted to doing it in sacred places or deep in caves, because they do not want to to be caught.
So they know what they're doing is
yes,
wrong.
they know what they're doing is wrong according to the law or according to the policies.
But according to culture.
According to cultures, it isn't. Because when you look at it from this way, in 2010, FGM was made illegal with the passing of the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act, the FGM Act. Now, this act criminalizes those who mutilate or attempt to mutilate girls or women, and those who seek to undergo. Meaning, if at all there is also a young girl or a woman who wants to undergo it, this law also bars you from doing so. But when you look at many of those who are engaging in the activities, many are preserving it, or many are just defiant, I should say. That would be the word to use. Because they know what they're doing is against the law, but because of their cultures, they continuously do it. And then there is also the fact that there is social pressure and stigma, why this is also continuing and why FGM continues to grow. That you're seeing the social pressure where young girls will definitely be discussing these things amongst themselves, especially during holidays for those, or even those who don't go to school. And during, their adolescent stage, someone will tell, one who has already been mutilated will say, how come for you, you haven't experienced this? You're not a girl enough. You're supposed to go through all these phases. Now, that social pressure pushes many to bow down and say, let's go in for this. And then the stigma is one other, because many of them have been abused, criticized in community, and it is something that young girls cannot take up with their heads at times, and they end up falling victims.
Well, Dennis from Nalia says, Dennis from Nalia, I don't believe that practice still exists in Uganda today. Well, Dennis, if you can use your Google, you will find that there are different news reports indicating that female genital mutilation is happening in Uganda.
With
in
survivors
December.
and victims sharing their side of
their stories. Just in December, like we have shared, over 280 cases are reported to have taken place in December alone. So it is still ongoing, and 280 cases are quite a huge number. Now imagine how many girls are mutilated in 1 year, 12 months. How many girls go through this? So coming to you, Robert, it is reported that police does not show up in time to help the victims. What do you think are the challenges law enforcement has when it comes to deterring or even arresting the culprits?
Thank you. First, we should be more proactive than carrying out surgical operations as police, because the number of changes that I'll mention, but one, when it comes to this particular crime, it is all about being proactive. What do I mean by being proactive? Being able to gather intelligence information on such when it's bound to happen. Because it takes preparation. Like I told you, by the time they identify the girl, she's aware or they plan where it's going to be done. By the time they look for this old woman, because I've seen those arrested, the suspects, most of the times I told you I saw none below 60. So by the time they're able to find this woman, because they know sometimes they don't even do it on one girl, they have to take about 10 at a go. Now, police must have enough ears on the ground to interrupt the process before it happens. Now, when they talk about most of the times police being called and they take a long time to arrive at the scene, one, when are they notified? Because you've always had this argument, police will tell you, we were told when everything is finished. So when is police notified? Two, Sebei region happens to be a bit hilly. We usually go the side of CP4, so a bit hilly. Now, we all know, and these are facts we won't hide, that our police, much as government has tried, but still it is one of the institutions that is highly underfunded in terms of transportation. Recently, there was some issue, and I went to some police station. I was told, and a big police station, not these police posts. We have one car, all this stretch, it is down. Maybe you can borrow from our sister when they called there was a murder, but this is within Kampala. Now go to Sebei. How many means of transport has government provided? All the donor partners. How many motorcycles are there? When they break down, because you find that police does not have the transportation methods. Second, usually how things become smooth is when me who is reporting a case, I can foot transport challenges. Olive Sonko and our viewer, you know that very well. You go to police, they will tell you the truth is we would want to come and arrest that person. But someone's not going to pick from their salary. Then they will tell you, okay, you transport us. If you have a car, genuinely, if you go to a genuine police station, the truth is these people will tell you, okay, since you have a car, take us in your car. Or get border motorcycles, we go. Now for such a person who is reporting, think about it, Olive. This is just a concerned person. Not the father of the daughter going for this because maybe they have consented, not the mother because they have consented. So a concerned citizen being told that now also inject money to aid transportation is also another issue. I will call police and police will tell you, we want to come. Where are they? You give them the details. But they will tell you, we don't have transport. Most of the times, not because they are corrupt, because I've witnessed this, but because the reality is they don't have means of transport to get them there on time. These are facts. So am I going to be a concerned citizen to save a life of a girl and then I'm going to get my money? Remember, this is Sebei, not the Kampala here, where sometimes 10,000, 20,000 is something you can't buy normally. This villager took off 20,000. And sometimes these are done also in isolated areas, not so close. So those become some of the challenges that is very hard for police to respond on time. It doesn't have the capacity. Sometimes, yes, now they went to the sub-county policing model, but sometimes some of these isolated police stations, even the staffing, you have a police post, it has 5 police officers, 2 have gone on a land issue, 1 stays there to keep the armory where they keep their gun, 1 is now the CID OC station. So there are some of the issues not to rule out, not to rule out, and I want to say this, that sometimes lack of interest also by the police officers. I
was going to also ask,
yes,
could
because
it be that sometimes police officers
yes,
also share the same belief?
Yeah, lack of the interest by police officers, because one would say, Chirabo, when they are hitting a thief, how come if mob justice is happening and you give police a call that Allah found we are here, they are going to kill someone, I don't know where they get that fuel. I still want to investigate. They will come so fast, maybe because they are coming to save a life. So I also have a feeling that there is lack of interest or awareness and sensitization of the police officers themselves on the danger of female genital mutilation.
Thank you so much, Robert. If you're just joining us, cases of female genital mutilation are surging in Sebei sub-region. It's reported that over 280 girls were mutilated just in December alone, which begs for the question, how many girls were mutilated just in 2024 alone? And that's why we are looking at this. What can we do to ensure that, in as much as we want to preserve culture, that we desist from cultural practices that are detrimental to the health of young women in different areas of the country? Now, coming back to you, Joram, first of all, we have talked about female genital mutilation, the victims and whatnot, but what are the consequences? How does it negatively impact a girl child?
Well, from the health perspective, many of the doctors that have come out to write against FGM will tell you that there is something to do with infections and sepsis. And this bit of the infection is because of the kind of equipment being used, the unsterilized kind of equipment being used. That can lead to long-term infections that also include swellings and the like. And then there is also the kind of pain and bleeding that occurs during the same. Because remember, many of these are not, do not care about the person experiencing the pain. It is just someone who is doing it to preserve their culture. And then also on the unfortunate beat, there is the beat of hell, of death, especially if at all everything does not go on as planned.
If there is overbleeding.
Overbleeding, or if at all there is continuous resistance, because at times young girls are forced into this, so you can easily see what anything wrong can happen during the same. And then also the psychological and mental torture that one can experience after that, even before that moment happens. Because one, you're anxious, you're scared, you're going through all these kind of emotions. And then immediately that happens. You as a young girl, you're going to be having all these memories running down your brain all throughout your entire adulthood. And it will definitely affect you, your view on culture. And then psychologically, you may even switch off because of that mental torture you go through just because you're experiencing this kind of FGM. So when you look at some of these kind of, you know, issues at hand, or what many young girls have to deal with during this entire kind of process, or this entire kind of practice, you wouldn't wish it for anyone. Because imagine the bleeding, first of all, and you know, the pain of that kind of experience. And then
there is no anesthesia applied here.
And you know, there's also an argument of difficulty in intimacy, and this is very common with today's world, because not so many people will be open to getting a partner who has passed through the same, especially for the modern men today. And so many young girls find themselves living with this as an insecurity, because, well, they don't know how a husband will, a future husband or a potential husband will react to this, or how society would even react if at all society got to find out that you, so and so, you underwent FGM during your adolescence age or during your teenage age.
You know, there are two sides to this coin, Jerem. When you talk to the people of the Sebei sub-region that are pro female genital mutilation, one of the reasons they raise is that FGM improves one's chances of being married, because it will control their sexual desires and make them faithful to their husbands in future. That's one of the reasons they raise.
Most of those who are in support of it are the men from the region, right?
Even the women, the older women. But for them, it is the internalized patriarchy and control that they have, because they're the ones fronting this, but they're doing it for the men. So this again, it's to increase male dominance over the females in the region. So when you look at issues like internalized patriarchy and control, here you look at women upholding FGM because they have been conditioned to believe it is essential for their dignity and societal acceptance. And also research shows that the practice is often framed as a way to ensure obedience and uphold male dominance, and some women enforce it without questioning the origins, because monkey see, monkey do. That's what is happening. But now, gentlemen, let's look at breaking the barriers. Starting with you, Jerem, and before I go to Robert, in your parting shots, how do we break the barrier? Because we can't just talk about it. We have realized that probably sensitization is lacking, but you did mention earlier that probably it's not even enough to sensitize the people in these areas. So what do we do to bring this to an end?
Putting the FGM Act in full control of any activity that is happening there, because you have to ensure that anyone who is engaging in these activities knows the repercussions at hand. That if at all you are caught or you're guilty of any activity you're engaging in, then you will be reprimanded. But then, Olive, there is there's something to do with empowering young women when it comes to, you know, empowering them in the social affairs and in the economic way. Because why this is happening at this time, it's because many of these young women do not have a plan B in life.
Jerome, the girls that are initiated are mostly between the ages of like 12 to like 15, 16. Yes,
and why am I saying they do not have a plan B in life? At that age, your plan A is family. No, first it has to be family, then plan B, school comes in. Now, most of them are only riding on the text of the family and the cultures. So meaning at that age where you expect them to be in high school or secondary, this is the time where many of these families are preparing them for marriage, motherhood, and the like.
So how exactly do we empower them?
How we empower them?
Because
first
they are
of all,
minors.
yes, because they're minors. First of all, we have to make sure that they stay in school. Staying in school is very important because we do have USCE and UPE schools in those areas. But do we ensure that the young girls are in school? And do we ensure that the young boys are also in school? Because these young boys that you take through school are the ones that are also going to change how these cultures are. Because along the way, they are the people who are going to age into the grandfathers then. Because at least now, for someone who was born, let's say in 1980, at this rate, that person is fit to be a grandfather. and at least from that point, from that point, you are saying, because in that region from 1980, many of them were getting married or marrying very early. Let's say by 2000, someone is already a father or a mother.
I had to do a quick math there and see how old a person born in 1980 is. They are 45.
The 45.
Most
45.
of them, their kids are 15 or 13.
No, only if someone has been getting married at 14, these people were getting married at 14, 16. Many of these young women then are now either expecting a grandchild at 45. And this is very common today in that region.
Well, over the last 40 years, people have been going to school longer, and so they had kids later. But I'm not saying you're entirely wrong.
Yes, okay. Now, when you look at it from that kind of situation, Olive, we need to make sure that people keep in school, so that at least we first of all eliminate early marriages and early pregnancies. Then away from that, in the long run, we need to also see that after these young girls are in school, we have to empower them to know that after school is done, before you focus on family, or if at all you've chosen to focus on family, there is also some bit of elevating yourself, career-wise, or doing something for your own self as an individual. Because the purpose of life does not only rotate around men and marriage. So you need to have all of that. And then the intentionality of those who are trying to put an end to this. Why I'm saying they are trying, because they only speak about it as much as we are doing. And if we only continue speaking about it and not doing further sensitization and trying to let the people know that these cultures do not need to be upheld even if they are in wrong, then we are not doing the right things. Well,
thank you so much, Jerome. You didn't, Victor Beckham, he's saying, good morning, Mr. Chirabo and Ms. Najuma. It should be known that culture is difficult to deal with, especially in Africa, and police may not act if the victims do not complain. The government is not doing enough to sensitize the ones carrying out female genital mutilation. And he's saying that enforcement of the law against the same should be taken very seriously. The next comment comes in from Kigwe Livingston from Rezandeja Division, and he says, when it comes to culture and norms of a certain tribe, it is their right to enforce it. For example, in Uganda, we believe in Buko, you cannot sit beside your mother-in-law, yet the Banyankole, it's not an issue, and it's their culture. My sister Monica, you cannot shake hands with your husband's father. The Basoga hug each other. For us, Baganda, Tugamba, such things when they happen, Bobabuko, era he who does it, akakana, era akankana, era afabubi. We believe in it, and it works. Thank you. Chigwe, Obuko, and someone's genitals being cut, I think the differences are really different and the impact severe. The last comment I'll share, he says, I think let's leave FGM culture as it is. After all, the ones who do it enjoy it. It's not forceful. If I may ask, what does your... This is from Niwagaba. Niwagaba, it's... I won't finish your comment because the language used is not really acceptable. But I'll go to Robert. Robert, what are your parting remarks, especially in light of what Niwagaba is saying, that it is not forceful, the people that go through it enjoy it? Those will be your parting remarks.
Well, first I must tell my brother that it is very painful. And I must tell my brother, statistics have shown that if 10 girls undergo that form of female circumcision, if I may call it that way, to make it simpler for you to understand it. Now, this is what happens. 10% of these girls die. They don't survive. 10%. Now, that means you have 90 girls. 40% of these girls have complications that they develop. You know, we can't have illustrations because we're on TV, what exactly is done to this woman. So, it has very many health effects to these girls. There is no research that has proven any goodness in female genital mutilation. When you go to circumcision, one would say, but even the men, the gisu, today a man who is not circumcised is not worth being a man and speaking in society. Because you've all adopted to that. Because it has health benefits. Health benefits. It's a clean culture. It has so many good things we can talk about it. Now, when we go the other side, people are dying. These young girls are dying. There is nothing good about this. And I want to tell you, many of the girls that we had chances to speak to are taken unaware of this. They are taken unaware. They are forced. Some are deceived that they are going to do something else, only to turn up that these mature ladies are there and they circumcise them. So, one, we need sensitization. You see, culture is culture, but we need to sensitize the people. If they still have those comparisons, that what about, to show them that this is dangerous. This is leading to death. You know, even the men to understand, how are you going to sleep with someone and enjoy that union with someone who has lost feelings for what you're doing? So we need sensitization, and we need to ensure that actually also enforcement officers are very serious, facilitate them, NGOs, civil society. If it means having budgets to aid enforcement, we need to do that.
Thank you so much, Robert. Now, according to the World Health Organization, female genital mutilation has no health benefits and it harms girls and women in many ways. According to WHO, the practice involves removing and injuring healthy and normal female genital tissue, interfering with the natural functions of girls' and women's bodies. It can also lead to immediate health risks as well as a variety of long-term complications affecting women's physical, mental, sexual health and well-being throughout the course of their lives. So, there are no health benefits whatsoever regarding FGM. But now our conversation comes to an end. Good Morning Uganda continues. Stick around.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that.
Okay.
The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being with us and sticking around. It's now time for us to talk matters business, and we start off from the coffee value chain. The flavor of Ugandan-made coffee has drawn the attention of the world, with the latest being China. And Sunny Zhang, the hotel proprietor in Kololo, was inspired by her fellow Chinese who enjoy the Ugandan coffee. Now, with some coffee plants in her hotel compound, Ugandan coffee is served alongside other Chinese dishes, portraying cultural exchange between the two countries. Now, in the heart of Kampala city is a unique unfolding story of cultural exchange at Gangua Hotel and Restaurant at Nyonyi Gardens in Kololo. Ugandan chefs prepare Chinese food, a task they say was initially difficult, and no stereotype can separate them from Chinese cooking at this rate now. Now, such cultural exchange is what makes this hotel more than a business. Now, Ugandans, the country's coffee is most loved by the Chinese to make it tastier. Well, Uganda's coffee is most loved by the Chinese, and to make it tastier, it goes through a unique preparation process, and the brain behind it is Zhang Xiaofeng, also known as Sunny Zhang. Now, she came to Uganda 12 years ago as a construction worker, and when her contract ended, she joined hotel business, and this is where her love for marketing Ugandan coffee to China began. And when you look at many of the destinations for Ugandan coffee, China or Asia is Asia as a continent is one of those destinations for Ugandan coffee, and then also the Middle East. If you're to look at it, you look at the UAE being a destination for Ugandan coffee, but lately China or the Chinese people are so much in love with Ugandan coffee. And as much as those that export coffee to Europe and the Americas continue to look for various markets, China can be another market to explore. And away from that, Uganda is deepening its economic ties with China as it seeks to attract more foreign investments to spark growth and create further jobs. Now, Ambassador Judith Nsambabera, Uganda's Consul General in Guangzhou, has reaffirmed her commitment to bring more Chinese investors into the country. Now, during a visit to Changkwanzi for Chinese New Year celebrations, she commended the Chinese businessman Chairman Shang Yorong for his investment in the district, which has transformed lives by providing employment and fostering industrial growth. In just 18 months, the once idea became a game changer for the people of Changkwanzi. Now, Shanglong factory, established by Chinese investor Shang Yorong, specializes in sustainable household goods and is an opportunity for the local market. Now, with over 1,000 employees, workers who previously struggled to find stable jobs and security, Uganda's government commitment is to create a business-friendly environment for all investors. Now, Uganda's pro-business policies and strategic location make it an attractive destination for investment. So investing in Uganda is a rewarding journey. Support from the Ugandan government encourages investors to expand businesses. Now, as Uganda continues to position itself as a strategic investment hub in Africa, such partnerships drive economic growth and empowering communities to build the future. And then you should also note that Ambassador Judith Nsambavera was also on, is also on a tour to explore Uganda's tourism destinations, to also see how best other investors, especially those from China, can easily come in and continue to invest in the country. Well, that does it for our business this morning. We now look at the forex market to see how various currencies have been faring on the exchange. Close of business Friday. The US dollar was buying at 3,669.50 while selling at 3,679.50. By midday, it was buying at 3,669.41 while selling at 3,679.41. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,557.07 while selling at 4,569.49. The euro was buying at 3,806.36 while selling at 3,816.73. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.42 while selling at 28.49. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.42 shillings while selling at 1.42 shillings. The South African rand was buying at 198.63 while selling at 199.17. Well, that does it for business this Monday morning. Now, 4 days to a day that many of the lovers do celebrate world over, the Valentine's Day. But for the business community, it is this week where many of those, especially those dealing in floral businesses, gifting businesses, are likely to be getting more money from the same. But hey, those within the hotel and hospitality industry seem to be ready to conquer the business world this entire weekend. So why not use the opportunity to be as versatile as you can. If at all you are a small scale business owner, maybe you can tap into the many chances of getting money this entire weekend. I wish you a lovely weekend, I wish you a lovely week and a very, very good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda, your go-to morning show to kickstart your day with all the latest updates.
Let's dive deep into issues that matter most to you.
In a world of stories waiting to be told, the headlines are your guide. Navigate the currents of news and knowledge with our daily updates of newspapers. Stay informed